Hello, and thank you for joining in this primary candidates forum co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters and TCTV. My name is Eileen Levy. I am a League member, and I will be moderating today's candidate forum. We have 3 candidates for the PUD District 2, 2 of which are with us today. One, unfortunately, was not able to attend. I need to share with you that the League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in all our government levels. And we register new voters, we study and develop positions on particular issues of public interest and advocate for those positions at both the local, state, and national levels. Despite our name, the League welcomes both membership of both men and women of voting age. So to introduce our candidates, we have on my immediate left, Russ Olson, our incumbent PUD Commissioner for District 2, and his opponent, Patrick Thomas. So I'm going to give you both a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves to the public, and then we'll get on to the questions. So feel free. Mr. Olson.
Great, thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. As a lifelong resident of Thurston County, it's been a pleasure to serve as a District 2 Thurston County PUD Commissioner for the past 13 months. During that time period, I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish as a commission. First of all is the development and implementation of an asset management plan. That asset management plan looks at all of the PUD systems and looks at the aging of that infrastructure and has developed a budget for the replacement needs of our infrastructure. Second of all is really working to maintain the affordability of water to our rate customers and to the general Thurston County area, looking how we can potentially expand services to cover broadband, working with 3 other cities to do that within the highest density areas in Thurston County. And lastly, really looking at how the future of the PUD and how we interrelate with the other government entities. The PUD is a crossroads as far as its development. We currently have 3,200 customers that are comprising 155 water systems. Looking forward to how we can integrate those more fully with the city operations and how we make sure we provide the best access and services to the citizens of Thurston County.
Thank you very much. Sir?
Well, my name is Patrick Thomas, as you mentioned earlier. Eileen, thank you for having me here today. Mr. Olson, thanks for being here also. And to the Women League of Voters, I appreciate having the opportunity to come down here and talk. I've been a citizen in the state of Washington for over 30 years now. I graduate St. Martin's University here in June, so it's not going to be too soon when I'll have my BA. I'm looking to run against Mr. Olson here. Reason why is I want to improve water conservation within our communities, increase education about waste management, how water usage affects our economy and our environments. I also want to create an environment where the general public can coordinate more with the PUD and foster a relationship between federal and state agencies to handle emergency situations. In addition, I believe I'm the right man for that position.
Okay. Thank you both very much. So now we'll begin with our questions. I'll start with you, Mr. Olson, and then give you 2 minutes to answer this question, and then Mr. Thomas can have a minute to respond. I think I hear a phone. Do we need to turn it off? You're okay? All right. First question is, what do you consider to be the PUD's main purpose?
The main purpose of the PUD is to ensure the availability and affordability to those in Thurston County. We serve water systems that are not able to be served by other municipalities. There's many situations where there's groupings of 9 water systems, 9 customers, and those sometimes are run by private homeowners associations. In many cases, we're seeing as they become an aged system, that infrastructure begins to break down. The PUD's role within Thurston County has been and continues to be a backdrop to ensure that we can incorporate those into our water system and ensure that availability of water is made to those customers. In many cases, we work with the Department of Health where we are asked to come in and assess the quality of those water systems and make sure that they maintain operational so that we can assist those customers. Our main system is Tango-Wall-Thompson Place with well over half of our PUD systems are within that area, and we have a commitment to those customers to ensure availability and affordability to that water as well.
Okay, thank you. Patrick.
Well, I agree with Mr. Olson. One of our things that we need to do is ensure that our drinking water is safe and our resources aren't wasted. One of the things I'd like to focus on is reducing the amount of sodium in some of our drinking wells. I believe 2 of them have twice the amount of sodium that is actually proper for the individuals, over 20 parts per million. One individual area, it's going to be Loma Vista, has 47 parts per million, and that's something that we have to look at with the contaminants to make sure we clean those up. In addition, emergency situations are going to arise. We have earthquakes, tsunamis, situations that are going to ensure that we have to communicate well with federal and state agencies, and I don't think we're trained well enough to do that. I want to take the administrative staff, and I also want to take the field staff, get them properly trained, because when a water main breaks, they're going to be the first responders on scene, and when they're there, they're going to become the incident commanders. It's important that we preserve our infrastructure and provide clean, affordable water to the communities of Thurston, along with all the other resources we have in Lewis, Grays Harbor, and several other counties. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thomas, we'll give you the next question, please. The PUD's various water systems range from a high of 1,784 customers, such as, for example, Tanglewild, and compared to some systems with as few as 5 customers. With this diversity of customer size, how can the PUD ensure fair rates are set amongst and between the customer systems?
So that's a great question. I'm not sure if the amount of customers really determines the price of the rates that we set on the water resources. What we have is, like he mentioned earlier, we have 155 water systems. We have 3,200 active systems within the communities that we support. What I'd like to do is see a reduction in all of the water resources that we're using. Currently, we have some communities that are using 526 gallons per day in a residential area, and that's per residential home. And they say that they've cut them down 70%, 40%, 49%. That's great, but when we still have a usage of 400 and something gallons, that's excessive. So what we can do, to answer your question, is to provide some kind of incentive when an individual uses less and less water compared to the national average, or excuse me, to the local average. We provide some kind of monetary program where they will pay less in what it is that they are using.
Sir.
It's really the concept of utility. I'm actually grew up in the Tanglewild-Thompson Place neighborhood. My parents still live there and are customers of the PUD. And understanding the impact that water system is critical to the overall operation of the PUD, but not any more so than any of the others that are maybe smaller. With those customers and how we create an equal base is really look at it as a full system. These are no longer individual systems of Tanglewild-Thompson Place versus Loma Vista versus anything else. We need to look at it as a holistic approach. That's what the asset management plan does, is look at that from a cost analysis standpoint, and we're investing in each individual water system as a collective. Therefore, the prices should be spread out evenly among all those that are users, so we can maintain that utility. I agree, consumption is a major area we need to look at, and we continue to strive with that with our rate structures, which are based on usage, which penalizes those that use excessive amounts of water.
Okay. Mr. Olson, what is your understanding of how the PUD maintains water quality in its systems? And do you think the current processes are sufficient and effective?
We work with the Department of Health closely. I'm very proud to say that in over 99% of our water systems, we meet or exceed the expectations of the Department of Health. My professional background, I'm actually a former employee of the Toxics Cleanup Program with the Department of Ecology. I'm very in tune with the toxic contaminants that are within our water systems and our soils, and what those impacts are to communities. Currently, as a director for the Governor's Office of the State Pollution Liability Insurance Agency, my responsibility is to keep contaminants out of the ground from petroleum underground storage tanks. So when we take the safety of water, I take that very seriously. I'm very proud to say our engineer does all the required testing, and the commission is briefed on that on a daily basis. Each water system, actually on a weekly basis as we meet. The water systems, it's important to note that all water isn't the same when it comes out of the ground, and many water systems require treatment. And with that, there's certain things that are added to the water systems in order to meet those standards. And so when we look at that, yes, some systems are receiving some additional additives, but those are to ensure that we meet the minimum requirements. If we can't meet those minimum requirements, then we need to look at what other strategies we can impose to implement new water wells, those type of things. But at this time, we are one of the top performing PUDs in the state. I'm very proud to say that, over 99% confidence level.
That's a great answer. And I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Olson, as I will continuously throughout the campaign. Him and I see a lot an eye to eye on how to approach things. One of the things that we do have to look at is, he mentioned that we meet or exceed the current standards, and we do. And a lot of times when I look at the reports that are published to us online, we actually meet those standards. I'd like to exceed those standards. I'd like to drop the contaminant levels that are inside our drinking wells and our resources. Now that's doable. As a matter of fact, one of the resources that we have is to drop usage by 3%. 3% is too low. We've seen some areas drop at 9, 10 realistically, and I think we can increase those numbers. Instead of just 3% during the summer, we can increase those 10, 20%.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Thomas, this question is for you. And during your term of office, if you're elected, what would you do to see as what would you see as the PUD's principal action items, and would any or all of them require water rate changes?
Another good question. So, primarily, what I would like to see happen is look at our infrastructure and see where we stand with the safety of our water contaminants. Currently, unfortunately, we have a new threat in our area. We've got domestic and foreign terrorism, and I think increasing our security of our water supplies, I think that's going to be one of our #1 goals. How I go about doing that, I will ensure that everybody that's on the staff, administrative and field, is properly trained through the NIM system, taking care of the IS 100, 200 Alpha series. Basically, it's a training process where when you become an incident commander or you're first on scene, you know exactly what to do. I'm not sure if a padlock on our current systems is well enough to do or to keep our water secure and safe from outside entities.
Okay, thank you.
As I move forward, and currently as an incumbent in the system, my main focus is going to be to ensure the availability and affordability of water. We have, as I mentioned earlier, the asset management plan. We have currently, I've just finished going to 2 community meetings, and we'll have a third with the Tangawall-Thompson Place later actually beginning of July, where we're discussing what the future of rates is going to be. We projected that out to 2020. Right now, we're looking at about a 4% increase. You can't maintain current water system and infrastructures without some cost increase, especially with what we're looking at as far as infrastructure responsibilities to a large aging water system. So with that, yes, we will have to have increase, but it's going to be managed through that asset management plan. There is a system in place for doing that, and that's what we're communicating to the public, which is an expectation of mine.
Now, Mr. Olson, as with most agencies, public and otherwise, the PUD has experienced less funding in the last few years. Why has that happened in your estimation, and what, if anything, do you think can be done about it?
There's been a number of funding source issues or challenges the PUD has been faced with. First of all, is the Public Works Trust Fund was spent in other ways by the legislature this last legislative session, which impacted all PUDs. That's the money that we use as a backdrop for grants and loan programs to invest in our PUD. That's why with the asset management plan, we're really looking at what we have to do as a water system with our customer base to ensure that we continue to provide the safe and available water for our customers without significant increases down the road. Things that my opponent brought up are very true. We are looking into risk management. We're looking into all those components. But as we move forward, it's the consumption, and that is one thing that as we look at consumption rates, the less people consume, the less value or return we get under our current rate structures. So those are something as the future goes, maybe that isn't the right way to look at rate structures, and we need to evaluate that. But for right now, we really need to look at what our fixed costs are going to be. We know our revenue coming in, and we need to operate within those confines and make sure that we have responsible government.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas.
So I've looked at the current budget for the Thurston County PUD, and I haven't had an opportunity to look at the actuals for 2013 or what's currently going on in 2014. But immediately, if I was elected to office, I would take a physical, hands-on approach to see where we can cut costs immediately at the office. Our staff, and I'm not saying reduce staff hours, what I'm saying is just even minimal things. How can we decrease administrative pens, paper, everything at the minimal use, cut down to the nuts and bolts about how we can save money. I believe there was a gentleman on national television, a young child from Pittsburgh, who stated that if we just change the font in our memorandums and our correspondence, we could save millions of dollars. Yeah, we're definitely going to look into things like that and really start where we are right now, inside that office and within the community. On a broader picture, yeah, we could get more help from the state legislature and look at how our money is being spent. But initially, it will have to start right there in the office.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Thomas, last question. What one word best describes your candidacy for District 2 PUD Commissioner, and why?
Well, I think it's exciting. That's how I would term it. This is the first time I've done this. I've got a great supportive family. You know, I've got 3 beautiful kids and a wife that supports me very, very much. My current employment, they support me, and I think it's a new experience, and I recommend everybody get involved and become more in tune with what's going on with their community. And if you have to volunteer, do what you can. It's just as exciting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Olson.
I would say innovative. As I look at the remainder of this term that I was appointed to, I'm excited about the opportunities and the innovations we can bring with the PUD. One of the areas that the PUD hasn't explored that I'm taking a leadership role in is within the wholesale broadband arena and telecom. And that's something that actually I have a meeting next week set up with representatives of all 3 city governments in Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater, our highest density areas, and we'll be leading a task force to evaluate area-wide broadband on a wholesale level and seeing what we can do to provide to our customers and to the citizens of Thurston County. That's an area that the Thurston PUD can expand into, and if we can do that in a way that affects and improves business climate in this area while maintaining a sensible budget plan for that, I'm very excited. So as I look forward to the next 2 years of this term, I look forward to delivering on those responses.
Okay, thank you very much. So you each have a minute to close and make the sale for your candidacy. So, Mr. Thomas, let's start with you.
That's a tough one. You know, I went online and I went through all kinds of items and papers, and I've got all these 5x7 cards, and trying to answer why you should vote for me or why it's going to be important. You know, I'm working on the same values as Mr. Olson and everybody else that's worked on or that's currently working on the board. I think what you have to look at is how important and how much drive and support and how much effort you're going to put into this campaign. Why should people vote for me to close the deal? Well, I'm going to support the public. I know exactly what it's like to be able to pinch pennies and save and not be able to pay the water bill on time. I've had water disconnection notices before and in my younger days. I understand. So if you put me in office, I will have empathy and I will understand the decisions I make impact your lives, your businesses, and most importantly, your family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Olson.
Thank you. And as I asked for your vote during the primary election, know that you're voting for the hometown kid. I was born and raised in this town. My yesterdays, todays, and tomorrows are here. My wife's from Tumwater. I'm a proud graduate of North Thurston High School, proud graduate of St. Martin's College. My son is elementary school within North Thurston School District. I am endorsed by the Lacey Fire Department, the Thurston County Sheriff, and many numerous other elected officials in this town, not because I'm a career politician, but because I'm fighting for the values of everyday citizens within this environment. I really want to see the PUD be something that people are proud of in this town. The discussions need to be about our future with water. It needs to be to see how we can add additional value as a PUD, looking at things like internet and wholesale broadband services. I'm the person who can get those done with those relationships that have been built on a history of my lifetime in this town. So thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the campaign, and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you both very much. We very much appreciate having you with us today and for sharing your views. Thank you for giving us the time. So,
Thank you, Alex.
This brings us to the close of our forum. Thank you, candidates, once again for joining us and sharing your views. And thank you to the TCTV viewers and to the League of Women Voters for making this forum possible. To our viewers, please remember to vote on August 5th for your primary election, and of course again in the general election on November the 4th. We sincerely hope today's information is helpful to you in making your voting decisions. And until we meet again, thank you all and goodbye.